Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Here it is, finally, to the point guard position in our free agent examination. We're taking a look at every single position, and this is the last one. So if you missed the centers, the power forwards, the small forwards, the shooting guards, make sure you look right here on the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. But today what we're doing is breaking down the point guard position. This is the deepest one. This is why we saved this for last. The juiciest names are here at the point guard spot. Keith, I can't wait to dive into this. So many question marks around so many of these guys.
Yeah, and it's not even close that this is the
Yeah.
deepest group. You've got over 20 guys who could still be rotation players in the NBA. So we'll explain that in case you haven't watched the other videos, but please go back and watch those. Hit us with a like on those videos and also subscribe. We passed 4,500 today. We're on the drive for
That's right.
5,000 subscribers. That's where we're headed. So, but let's break this down for you. So NBA teams, when they sit down and do free agent rankings and when they do NBA draft rankings, they put all the players into tiers. Those tiers are generally all-star, starter, rotation, and fringe. So starting at the top, all-star. These are guys who are either currently all-stars, have all-star potential, or you know they're going to be paid like an all-star. So that's where your all-star players come into there. Some teams will do superstar, all-NBA tiers within that. We're going to keep it simple. We're just doing all-star. Your starters. Those are players who are starters, obviously, or they play a starter-like role for their team, meaning they play starter-like minutes, they close games, they're a big part of their team. There. Rotation players sounds like what it is. It's rotation players. These are your guys who are somewhere between generally your 7th to 10th to maybe 11th or 12th if it's a super deep team for your rotation there. And then fringe are guys who are they're replacement level guys. This is your two-way players, your very end of the roster players, those kind of guys that you're not going to miss them. Maybe you find lightning in the bottle with one of these guys or something like that, but they're generally considered to be fringe players. Now, when we do this, we are going to as you see on the side there with the rankings, there's no fringe players showing. That's only because this position has 50 total free agents in it, and we had to cut it off somewhere. So you're not going to see the fringe guys. I can tell you guys it is mostly end-of-career veterans or two-way players that are on that fringe grouping. Here, you'll see the fringe on a couple of our other videos, but not on this one. So, Trevor, you ready? Start at the top.
Let's do it.
Let's get into the good stuff.
I have three. I love who we're starting with.
Oh, go ahead.
This is great.
Right?
To start with Chris Paul. I mean, my God, 3 all-stars. But here's why I love it, Keith. Never say never. I don't know how many times I've said that in the last few weeks, but it wasn't that long ago that everybody looked at Chris Paul as a terrible contract and, oh my gosh, whoever has to pay the final year of that. And now here we are. And it's all but a certainty that he's going to opt out of that final year because he's played so ridiculously well. And by the time we release this, he could be either an NBA champion or be on the verge of being an NBA champion. Things move quickly in the NBA, and this is just such a great example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris Paul, the expectation is that he'll opt out. He'll sign probably for a little less money, but add a bunch of years onto his contract, probably 3 years, $30 million per or something in that range. Still playing at a super high level. Driving success for that Suns team, really, got them in position, as you said, to win their first ever championship. And he's a big part of it. He's not just out there, right? He is still. I like to say the game gets played at whatever pace Chris Paul wants it played at. So if he wants to play it up tempo, you're playing up tempo. If he wants to slow it down, slowing it down. And I firmly believe he'll be in his mid 50s, and he'll still be dribbling in a mid-range pull-up jump shots and knocking them down out of pick and roll. So that's why we've got him at the top of the list. He's showing very little signs of slowing, and even seems past some of the injury stuff that he had for a couple times there at the end of his Houston tenure. So that's Chris Paul. Kyle Lowry and Mike Conley, the next two guys on the list. Two, other guys, all-star level guys. Mike Conley, we can finally say that. He made the all-star team last year.
That's right.
It's finally off that list of best players to never make an all-star team. And then Kyle Lowry, absolutely fantastic. I won't argue with anybody if you like Lowry better than Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I might argue. I think Chris Paul should be at the top. But Lowry, Conley, Paul, if you really have a strong personal preference towards one of the three, I'm not going to fight it too much. I think they're all relatively similar-ish in terms of impact
Yeah.
at this point in their careers. Paul's probably slightly better impact, but they're all going to be paid about the same, as my guess, and those kind of things. But three really big free agents, and probably Kyle Lowry becomes a guy who's most likely to be on a new team next year, because I don't think CP's leaving the Suns, and I think Mike Conley probably stick right in Utah.
Yeah, agreed. I don't see the other two guys leaving, but Kyle Lowry, I think, is likely to leave. I think he's most likely to go somewhere else. He was almost moved at the trade deadline by the Toronto Raptors. They had a number of trade discussions with him involved. Didn't come to fruition, and so now he'll hit free agency, and we'll see where he winds up. There's a number of teams that would like to get him. The Miami Heat have been in the running, perhaps the Lakers. There's a few other clubs out there that would like to get him, the Philadelphia 76ers. And really, he's the kind of guy that would be a great fit anywhere, really. I mean, he is just a tremendous player, getting up there in years, but you know what? He's showing that he can still get it done.
Yeah, still gets after it defensively. The last few years, he's played a lot more off ball next to Fred VanVleet than he ever did early in his career. So you can play him with another guy who handles the ball a lot and does the playmaking. So yeah, Kyle Lowry's still a great player. Then that's it for the All-Stars. A couple of these other guys, maybe they could sneak into an All-Star game, but solid starters. Now, in this solid starter group, we've got 11 total guys, which is great. That's more than we have just about anywhere else. So if you talk All-Stars and starters together, we've got a total of 14 players. That's more depth than at any other position we've got going, which is really, really good because it's the bigs, not so great. The small forward, even less great.
Right.
The shooting guard's pretty good. But with this group, Spencer Dinwiddie, you got him at the top of the list. Sounds like he's healthy. We've already covered it in another video. He really wants to get paid. So we'll see what that looks like. And I think Dinwiddie's a guy who I don't know that the Nets will keep him because I think he probably wants a bigger role, probably wants more money than the Nets are going to be comfortable with just going that deep into the tax to keep him around. But he, as we talked about in our other video, could be difficult for him to find a home at the kind of money he's looking for, unless it's the crosstown Knicks really want to get involved, or Lowry doesn't go somewhere where another team wants to land him. But this could be a way Brooklyn could do a sign and trade and add some talent back their way if they wanted to do that. But I think Dinwiddie's going to get his this summer.
And Brooklyn has already made it very clear, and I'm talking about publicly, made it very clear that they will help him get somewhere. Right, they are more than happy to facilitate, work out a sign and trade. They'll be getting something back, so this isn't just complete altruism on their part or anything like that. They would get something in return, but yeah, they're more than happy to work out a sign and trade with him and get him somewhere. So it's not like he is limited to only teams that have cap space. The Nets are more than willing to deal in this situation.
Yeah, the next guy. I'll let you cover him.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball. Look, Lonzo. He's a restricted free agent coming off of his rookie contract, and now it sounds like the New Orleans Pelicans are probably not going to keep him around. That if there's a big offer, what we've been hearing is that he will indeed be let go by the Pelicans. There's a number of teams that are after him. We talked about this earlier on another video where you've got the Bulls, the Clippers, the Lakers so far are the teams that have been identified as those who have interest in him. I'm sure there's others. The Knicks, I'm sure we'll get into that mix as well. But he's a guy who can probably be had despite being restricted. A lot of the guys that you look at that are restricted, they're a little bit tougher to get. Usually that is a bit more of a deterrent, but Lonzo is one where we can say with some, not certainty, but we can at least have some confidence that Lonzo, if he gets a solid offer out there on the free agent market, the Pelicans will not match it.
Yeah, and this might be another one where the Pelicans use this to facilitate a sign and trade. Get him to the place he wants to be while returning some value to them as well, because that just makes sense. So that's a smart way to do business if you're an over the cap team, because that can return you some value. And I think we forget with Lonzo, he's still only 23. Yeah. Doesn't even turn 24 until the start of this season. So there's still some upside in there for a guy who. Shooting's gotten a little bit better, a little bit more consistent. His playmaking's pretty good. His defense remains above average. So someone's going to pay up for Lonzo Ball and get him in. Now we get into what I like to kind of call the veteran quintuplet group here. Goran Dragic, Derrick Rose, Reggie Jackson, Dennis Schroeder, and Lou Williams. Schroeder, maybe we could take him out of that list. He's a little bit younger than the other guys on here. But these guys are all kind of the same. They could start, they could come off the bench. You're going to get good production out of them. All are more scorers than playmakers at this point in their tenure in the NBA. I like Dragic the most of this group because I just think he's super easily plug and play. Yep. Just about everywhere. I think at his size, you can just kind of put him on the floor and say, play on ball, off ball. He's a really good shooter. So he's just very easy to fit. So that's why I have him at the top of the list. Derrick Rose, career rebirth. He's really embraced that 6-man role. I think Derrick Rose, this part is always crazy to me. This is upcoming year is going to be his 14th season in the NBA. So yeah, so that makes you feel old, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, but I think he's a guy who could squeeze out another 3-4 productive years. But because he's embraced this 6-man role where, he's going to play 20 minutes a night and really do well. And then Reggie Jackson got his career back on track with the Clippers. They looked really, really good with the Clippers. I think he's now a guy who's pretty comfortable playing off ball next to some primary ball handlers. And then we got Dennis Schroeder and Lou Williams. Schroeder, I know we'll talk. I'll let you talk about him in a minute. And then Lou Williams, we know what Lou Williams is at this point in his career. He's going into his 17th year.
I was just looking at that. Yeah, if the Derrick Rose thing doesn't make you feel old, the Lou Williams thing. I mean, he came out of high school, but Lou Williams still you. Yeah, Lord, Sweet Lou has been around forever.
Yep. Yeah, 17th year, and he's going to be 35 this year as well. So, but still getting it done, right, in that scoring guard role off the bench.
Driving left and pulling up.
That's it. I think Dragic, Rose, Williams, probably 1 or 2 year contract guys at the most. Maybe like what Dragic had with the Heat, where it's 1 year and then a team option. Protect the team a little. Could maybe get 3 or 4 years because I think he's kind of figured out some stuff now. I think Schroeder's the guy. If anybody's going to land a 4 or 5 year contract, 5 would have to be from the Lakers. But 4 years, if he gets there, I think he's got the chance because he is, like we said, a little bit younger than these guys. He'll be 28 at the start of next year. So you could pay him 4 years and feel pretty comfortable about that going forward.
Now, what do you think happens with Dragic's team option? Before we dive into
I think the Heat decline it just for the flexibility reasons. I think they're going to decline him, and then we already covered him in another video about Andre Iguodala. I think they'll decline his as well. That doesn't mean that they're gone from Miami, but I think that gives them the flexibility to do something different with those contracts. You could even kind of run it back if you wanted to, where, hey, we're going to do this for another year of 1 year deals and, kind of pay you. And, generally you overpay a little bit because then you're getting that flexibility to get out of it clean the next year. But yeah, that would be my guess. But I think Dragic, though, I think he's a guy who other teams are going to have interest in because, he's just so plug and play. So I think about, the Celtics who need a point guard. If you could pull him away from Miami and say, hey, come in here, you can be our starter, or you could come off the bench, whatever fits best, and play on a team that, has designs on being at least a deep playoff run, if not a title contender. I think that's the kind of team that could maybe pull him away from Miami if he doesn't want to deal with kind of, all right, I'm just going to keep rolling this over with the Heat, or if the Heat have designs on spending their money elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I could see them definitely declining that. And then who knows? Maybe somebody does get in there and steal Dragic away. But again, he's been with Miami for so long. I think, if there's an opportunity for them to get Kyle Lowry, they'll probably take it. But otherwise, I could see them doing a big 1 year offer to him and just hanging on to Goran just because that would, it doesn't hurt you long term. We say it all the time. A 1 year deal, you can't really overpay on that. So I can see that type of scenario playing out there. Yep. Schroeder, it's a strange situation. It's really strange. So he's been saying for months that he wants to be a Laker, that's what he really wants. He's been talking about preparing for next season and how much better the team will be next year and all of these. Basically doing everything except saying I'm 100% back, but his actions don't show that. Turning down a 4 year, $84 million extension. The rumors out there are that he wants somewhere between 100 to 120 million, which
Me
is,
too.
yeah. I mean, hey, that'd be great. But you know what? The same rumors out there about Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't.
Yeah.
It feels like a common theme across the point guard market where there's just this notion out there that a starting point guard gets 20 to 25 million per season, and that's what the going rate is. And I know most fans would not agree with that. That there's varying degrees in there. But that's apparently what Schroeder's looking for. He's also looking for a big role with a team. I don't know the Lakers could be the team that offers that. So it feels like we're moving more and more towards, despite what Schroeder has said, more and more towards a breakup here, especially after the latest news that the Lakers are looking for a playmaker. And you said it, Keith, when you talked about this group, you said there aren't really any playmakers here. And the rumor that came
Yeah.
out from Mark Stein was that the Lakers want to bring in a difference making playmaker. And I don't think that really describes Dennis Schroeder, who is a great scorer. He's a good player, and he's somebody that can definitely help your team. But I'm feeling more and more like he's going to wind up somewhere else next season.
Yeah, I think the only way he ends up in LA is if he realizes, wow, I really got squeezed
Yeah.
here and this just isn't there. Then I could see him doing maybe a 1 or 2 year deal where it is, hey, I'll come back. I'll be on a really good team that's going to compete for a championship. He's still going to have a big role, even if it's not like a starring role, right? Because they need him, right? Or need him or a replacement for him, because they do need, somebody has to do some of the ball handling and scoring out of the backcourt. So I could see that if it's like, wow, it just the market didn't develop for me at all versus taking a whole bunch of money from a team that he's like, I didn't really want to be there. So, yeah. Then it gets into an interesting group. The last guys I have in the starter group, Devontae Graham, TJ McConnell, Kendrick Nunn, and Cameron Payne. Devontae Graham, restricted free agent, really has I think he should have won Most Improved a couple years ago. When he kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, all of a sudden he was this 3-point bomber and went from barely playing and one of these guys. He would have been in the fringe group. And then all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, this guy's starting and playing really well. Does good on and off the ball. Doesn't have great size, but has learned how to play off ball a lot and use his movement to get shots and the like. So, yeah. So I think Devontae Graham, I think he's probably going to stick right there in Charlotte. But he can help a lot of teams because of his ability to either handle your lead guard duties or he can really shoot the heck out of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you've got Terry Rozier there already. You've got LaMelo Ball and his emergence handling the basketball. I could see, and I don't necessarily know it's going to be Devontae Graham. Maybe it's Terry Rozier. I think somebody gets moved there, or at least that gets discussed because it feels like there's one too many guys there right now that need the basketball. And so I think that at some point something happens.
They're not going to bring back Devontae Graham and Malik Monk because that's just too crowded now. There's not enough minutes for all those guys. Yeah. So that I think you're probably right there. And also LaMelo has really great size for the position, but the other three guys are super small. So it just doesn't really necessarily fit, with what teams want to do now. But I think if you had Graham, Rozier, and LaMelo, you're covered. You're going to get, 96 minutes of great guard play out of those three guys. And I do think that's important because Graham can transition into being a six man, and he could even be a guy who could contend for sixth man of the year if they're good enough. TJ McConnell may be the only truly pass first point guard on this free agent list. Yeah. Everybody else is a little more score first. The position's taken on just that kind of way it looks. People scream and yell about all these pass first point guards. And I misspoke. Lonzo clearly is a pass first point guard too. But it's Lonzo and McConnell. Everybody else is looking to score first. They might get assists, they might do some playmaking, but they're gonna do it slightly differently. So that to me has value with McConnell because he's a defensive pain in the neck. And I mean that with all the respect in the world, right? He's just a pain in the butt. Yes. He's going to be right up in your face. We know he's going to steal a couple inbound passes a week and get a layup out of it. His major drawback is he will not shoot. Like, it's not that he can't. He just won't. It's layups they're nothing for this guy. He doesn't shoot 3-pointers, doesn't shoot pull-ups, doesn't really ever shoot. So that's a little bit of a challenge. with that. But backup guard, he's one of the better backup guards in the league. I have him in the starter group because, again, he's going to play a starter type of impact. He's going to give you really heavy minutes out of that group. Kendrick Nunn, another restricted free agent like Devontae Graham. Kind of interesting. He's done pretty well in Miami as a scoring guard. It seems like he's probably going to get squeezed out, though, with the Heat's plans, because if they want to do anything with Victor Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, somebody's got to go, and it's probably going to be Kendrick Nunn.
It's got to be him. It's him or Duncan Robinson. But here's the thing. Like, when we look at this entire market, let's say Kendrick Nunn is the odd man out, and suddenly he's on the market, right? He's available. And then let's say Colin Sexton, the rumored Knicks trade goes through, and the Knicks spot gets taken up. And next thing you know, Kendrick Nunn is on the market. Dennis Schroeder, Reggie Jackson, Derrick Rose, Dragic, right? You've got all these guys, Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, there aren't landing spots for all of these guys, especially if the Knicks, their landing spot gets burned up by trading for Colin Sexton. Some of these guys are going to be left out, and we're going to see some 1-year deals, maybe a 1+1 or something for some talented players. And they're just going to say, okay, I'm going somewhere where I can win, or someplace I really want to be, someplace I can really showcase myself to get back into the free agent market next year. There isn't a home for all these guys.
Yeah, no, not all of them are. Someone of this group of 14 is going to get squeezed out and not end up with a lot of playing time. Normally, I would go right to the next guy in the list to say that's the guy in Campaign. Yep. But I think Campaign's found himself a home there in Phoenix. I think when all is said and done, the Suns are going to run it back mostly with what they've got. They'll make some tweaks around the edges. Clearly, they need to add another big, with Sarge probably out for all of next season due to the torn ACL. But I think their backcourt and wing rotation, they're going to run it back for the most part with what they've got. And that probably means Campaign comes back to them, unless somebody really says, hey, here's an offer for you to come in. We want you to start or play heavy minutes off our bench. But my guess is the Suns can win him over by saying, hey, we helped get your career back on track.
Right.
And we're not going to push Chris Paul to play 35 minutes very often in the regular season. We're going to back him down. He's probably going to get spotted some rest days, especially think about it, right? Chris Paul is going to play now till almost the end of July, and then 2 months later go to training camp. That's really tight. So I could see them really saying, hey, Cam, we're going to start you once a week, when Chris sits, and we're going to do all these things. And so I think he probably sticks right there. But good on Campaign for taking that bubble job with the Suns and turning it into, being now a guy who, we've got listed here, relatively high on the point guard rankings.
It really was not. It blows me away. It was not that long ago, Keith, that you and I were sitting in Las Vegas at Summer League, watching him try to play his way back into the league.
Yep.
And here he is now. He could be an NBA champion very, very shortly.
It's a massive playoff games, too.
Yeah, amazing.
Games that Suns don't win without him, yeah. Then the rotation group, we won't spend quite as much time on this group because it's mostly veteran-level guys here. Patty Mills is another guy. It feels like he's just going to keep going forever.
What if you got Team Australia Patty Mills, though? If you got that guy show up in the NBA, bump him up
Team
to the
Australia
All-Star
Patty
spot.
Mills is, that's it. He's the fourth guy in the All-Star tier for sure. Yeah, he's unbelievable on the international level. His challenge with Patty Mills is he's 33 now. So, we're starting to get up there a little bit with him, but still productive, can still do his thing as a scorer. Ish Smith, I openly say I may have Ish Smith too high because he just does nothing but kill the Celtics whenever he plays them. Just destroys them every time. Right? Every team has those guys that kill them. Ish Smith is a Celtics killer. But again, quality backup point guard. You can do a lot worse than 15 to 20 minutes a night from Ish Smith if he's your backup. Then your guy, Alex Caruso.
Caruso.
I like Caruso too. Yeah. I think he, depending what else the Lakers do this, and then I want to hear what you think about it. I think depending on what else they do, he either becomes super important for them to retain him, or all right, he got a little more than what we thought, we're going to let him walk. Yeah. I think that's almost where it feels for me with Caruso.
Well, I'm curious, how much do you see him getting? Because I've been just using it as an example, and mostly it's been to make the math easy on my end when I'm adding up salary figures. I've been penciling him in around like 10 million or something like that, starting. Is that? But I've had some people tell me like, oh no, 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 he's very polarizing. Some people just think, oh, he's not that good. Some people think he is. Is that number crazy? You think him getting somewhere around 10 million?
Um, it feels high when I think of it on its
Yeah.
face. I'm pulling up his stats because I want to make sure I'm speaking from some level of intelligence.
And
Holy crap, he shoots the heck out of the ball. Doesn't shoot it
no,
enough.
he doesn't
Shoot
shoot it
more.
enough. But here's the thing:
Yeah.
like the stats, he is typically the Lakers' leader in terms of plus minus on a nightly basis. He's
Mm-hmm.
one of the better defensive guards in the league. So
Yeah.
LeBron has a great connection with him. The combo of
Great
LeBron and
size for the position.
yes, and the combo of LeBron and Caruso tends to be one of the highest on the team in terms of net rating. It's been even higher than LeBron and Anthony Davis through certain stretches. Not to say that Caruso is as good as AD, or obviously, but just defensively, he does some great things out there on the floor. He makes winning plays, makes smart plays. But I also say you have to be careful. Like if a team like I don't know, if you were the Orlando Magic, right, that picked up Schroeder and you or Caruso, and you said, here's the ball, go run the offense. He's not that guy. He's not going to take your team to that
Sure.
next level, but he is a great role player within a system where if you need somebody that can consistently put himself in the right spot at the right time and just make winning plays, he can do those things. And so that's where the value lies with him. But it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see what his market is and how people value him. Because if you look at his stat sheet, his counting stats don't look impressive at all. But then when you go into the advanced stats, you go, oh, wow, this guy makes a big impact.
Yeah, he'll be 28 midway through next season, so that's working against him a little bit. There's not much upside left there. He's probably much more of a finished product. I would say so. To your question about 10 million, here's why it makes sense for the Lakers. The Lakers need to start stacking some salary together
Mm,
to do the things we know they want to do, which is go find that third guy. And that third guy, ideally, is young enough that he's kind of the LeBron replacement eventually that can team with AD for. That's how you extend this window from realistically 4 years
yeah.
to maybe 6 years by getting that extra guy in there. So that's where it would make sense to me. If you did, even if you did 4 years, 40 million, it was 10 million flat, which, the cap guy in me loves that the Lakers like those flat contracts because it just makes everything easy. Um,
Right.
that remains a tradable deal too, even in its last year.
Mhm.
That's a pretty easily movable number. I wonder too if Caruso might even do 3 years with a team option on the fourth
Right.
year, or a partial guarantee, or even a non-guaranteed year, just because he kind of owes a lot to the Lakers too for kind of finding him, bringing him up, developing him. Not that he wasn't self-made too,
Their
but
first two-way player.
he that might work. Yeah, exactly. So I think we could see it maybe go that way with him on that one. Next guy on the list, Raul Neto. He's just kind of always around. He started a lot for Washington as kind of a off-ball guy
Yeah.
in between Westbrook and Beal, and some weird lineup combinations that oddly worked for some reason. I think when the Wizards said we're kind of done with defense, we're just going to go offense. Neto's a guy kind of like Ish Smith, a fellow Wizard, that you could just kind of throw out there for 10, 15 minutes a night, and you're not going to lose much. I have Chris Dunn next. I still believe in Chris Dunn's defense. I don't think he
Defensively,
opts
he's
out.
good.
I think in the end he stays right there in Atlanta because I don't think he's going to get that money this offseason, 5+ million. Elfrid Payton, I struggle here. Some would say, but he started all last year. Shouldn't he be a starter? He shouldn't be. That's my general thought. Knicks fans will tell you
Yeah,
that they 100% agree.
that's why they're so desperate
Yeah,
to get a
I
point
just
guard this offseason.
that's it. I don't like point guards that can't shoot. I don't like lead ball handlers that can't shoot. Can't shoot. That limits your upside considerably.
Mm-hmm.
That said, still a quality backup if you need a backup point guard. Brad Wanamaker, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr. trio are restricted guys. All kind of at different places. Wanamaker older. He's restricted because he came over to the NBA 5 years into his playing career. Can hit open jump shots, competently run your offense for 10 minutes off your bench if you need him to. Ntilikina and Smith, a couple of former Knicks guys. I'm saying former because Smith already is. I think Ntilikina will be here in another couple weeks. Ntilikina, I would still bet on him and try to see if second draft potential there? Can you get him to where he is? Still defends. Shot is okay-ish. I would still bet on him. Smith Jr. I'm a little more out on. I just think he's had more chances to be really good, and I'm just not sure he's ever going to be that guy. And then I put Jeff Teague in at the end. He's vacillating because he's probably closer to fringe than he is rotation, but Boston threw him rotation minutes, and Milwaukee went out and got him and gave him rotation minutes. Heck, he's been playing in the finals, so that's why he's at the very end of the rotation group.
Somebody will take a shot on him, but I agree. I think he's closer to fringe.
Yep. Do you see anybody? I know we don't have it on the screen, but you have the full list. Anybody in the fringe group that you think maybe?
Let me jump over. Let me jump over to that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't have that one.
I'll give you a couple while you're pulling it up. I'm still curious about Dante Exum. I don't know. Maybe. I think he's probably a guy who can make a lot more money if he just went overseas. I like Chris Chiozza with the Nets. I think he's done well when he's been given an opportunity there. Shaq Harrison is another guy. He's somebody I still like. Yeah, his challenge is he's 28 years old because, again, it's a little bit of a late starter there. Frank Jackson, he's only 26. He's shown some stuff, looked okay with Detroit on a two-way. Nico Mannion, I just don't know what to make of him yet. He's he only turned 20 in March. So, I mean, he's a guy who's still, plenty upside. Jordan McLaughlin, I want to believe him more, but he just didn't show what he showed a couple years ago. And then just so Celtics fans don't think I'm leaving him out, Tremont Waters. I'm just not big on Tremont Waters. I think we've seen enough now to know. He's what I like to call a 4A guy, which in Major League Baseball terms is a guy who's too good for the minors, but not good enough to cut it in the majors. I think Waters is a guy who's going to tear up the G League, and then whenever he gets called up to the NBA, he's just not going to look that great. And then one other guy I want to call out, Gabe Vincent. And the only reason I'm really calling him out is people, if you watched Nigeria beat Team USA, Gabe Vincent was a big part of that. Flashed at times for the Heat. I think he's a guy who's going to get himself an opportunity here. Probably not with Miami, but somewhere else. But again, these are your guys that you're kind of having to talk yourself into them, or they're two-way guys and a bench kind of guys.
Right. These are guys where you're not committing anything long-term towards them. You're probably not committing a full 1-year deal. It could just be a non-guaranteed something, or you could do a two-way contract, something like that. Camp invite for some of these guys. That's the type of player that we're talking about here.
Yep. Yeah, these are 10-day call-ups when we're in the 10-day season, those kind of things. End of bench guys that maybe one of them pops and it looks really good. You take one veteran name off our list, Matthew Dellavedova. Happy trails to him back to Australia. Happy to see him close it out back home, there, and it'd be a pain in the butt for somebody on that end, on the defensive end, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's great for him. And great for Australia, which basketball is exploding over there. So great for him, and hopefully he's able to continue to grow the game over there. Gosh, I'm looking at this and just thinking back in my head about all the positions that we've done here. It's so remarkable how much talent there is out here on this list, and it's going to be really interesting to see the way this all plays out this offseason, because there's some really good players here and a number of guys who could very well change teams. Like, the NBA landscape could look very different next season, in part because of what happens with this specific list. Like, the center list, look, you're going to find decent rotation guys, but you're not going to alter the course of the NBA or anything like that with most of those guys. The point guard list, you've got enough quality here to where you could change the outcome of the entire season based on what these guys do.
100%. Yeah, this is without a doubt, where I'm just going to repeat it one last time, the deepest position in free agency. Not even a question about it. And then followed by the shooting guard. So if you need help on your guard line, you're going to be able to get it this summer. You're not going to be able to get a whole lot at the forward spots, unless you're really willing to spend or overpay for a couple, major guys at the top end. But guard talent, it's certainly out there to be had this summer.
All right. Well, everybody, let us know your thoughts on the NBA's free agent point guard list. Again, free agency is going to start pretty soon here. A little bit into August, we'll see free agency get going, and things will really pick up. But give us your thoughts in the comments down below about where you see some of these guys going. And don't forget, subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel and ring the notification bell as well. And of course, give this video a like. Guys, we have been throwing in some education stuff too in some of our recent videos. So go back and look at some of the previous ones that we've done as well. There's all kinds of information out there. We just did one on some various exceptions in terms of how players can get signed to different teams. So make sure you guys go check out all of that kind of stuff. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see you.